She dialed 911 with shaking hands, whispering into the phone so her boyfriend wouldn't hear. He had stormed out just 10 minutes earlier after smashing every glass in the kitchen. She told the dispatcher her name was Emily Carter, 27 years old, trapped in her own apartment, terrified he would come back. The voice on the other end promised, "An officer is on his way, stay calm." Her heart raced at every sound outside the door. Then came the knock, 3 sharp raps. Relief flooded her chest. She pulled the door open, ready to collapse into the arms of safety. But the man in uniform staring back at her wasn't a stranger. He wasn't even the officer she expected. He was the nightmare she thought she had escaped years ago. Officer Daniel Hayes. The same man who had dragged her into the back of a van when she was 17. The same man who had chained her in a basement for 72 hours before she somehow escaped. And now he was standing in her doorway, badge gleaming under the flickering hall light, pretending to be her savior. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She tried to step back, but he pushed the door wider with one hand and whispered, just low enough so the hallway camera wouldn't catch it. "Did you really think you could run forever?" Her phone slipped from her fingers and crashed to the floor. This was not a rescue. This was the beginning of something far worse. Before the knock, before the face in the doorway, Emily had built a quiet life from small pieces. She chose an apartment on the 3rd floor because it felt safer. She chose a unit with 2 locks and a peephole because the extra second mattered. She kept a go bag under the bed, passport, cash, phone charger, a tiny flash drive, because her therapist once said, "You'll breathe better if you know there's a way out." She learned a routine: leave lights on timers, vary the hour she took out the trash, never post locations, always look for exits. From the outside, she was anonymous, a woman with a simple job at a dental clinic and a plant that stubbornly refused to die on the windowsill. On the inside, she was a map of rules. At 17, she hadn't had rules. She'd had a county fair, a pink wristband, and a friend who left to use the bathroom and never came back. A van door, the smell of bleach, a man's gloved hand pressing her face to cold metal. She'd escaped on the 3rd day by opening a rusted window grate with a bent fork and a prayer. She never saw his face, just pieces. The corner of a badge wallet, the rubber edge of a duty belt, the habit of cracking his knuckles one at a time, a low whistle of 2 notes, repeated when he paced. Peppermint gum. Peppermint, always. When the police interviewed her, they nodded and wrote, but their eyes softened in the way that meant they had a newer case and a better lead. "Trauma makes memories slippery," one detective said gently. "We'll keep looking." They did not find him. She changed her last name. She changed towns twice. She learned the numbers on her skin, the faint ladder of scars where zip ties had burned, the small crescent on her wrist from the window grate, the raised line across her ankle where the chain had rubbed. She told no new friends the full story. She told the man she was dating only the general shape of it, and even that felt like more than she could afford. Ty looked safe because he was familiar. He brought takeout and fixed her wobbly chair. He had a loud laugh and expensive sneakers and a habit of slamming doors when they stuck. For 3 months, he was careful with her fear. In the 4th month, he started testing it, shouting in the kitchen, stomping in the hall. He broke a glass and then said she'd made him do it. He left and sent 3 short texts. "Calm down. Don't start. Back in 10. That was why she called 911 that night. Not because Ty was the worst thing that had ever happened to her, because he was the nearest. The recording of the call would later become evidence. You can hear the thinness of her breath, the soft clatter as she tries to put the phone on speaker and fumbles it. You can hear her give the address twice and then apologize for no reason. The dispatcher's voice is steady. "Stay on the line. Unit en route." On the computer screen at Central, the call appeared on the queue in blue. A domestic disturbance. Routine. The system assigned it to Unit 34, a patrol car 2 blocks away. Before Unit 34 could radio en route, the assignment flickered, reassigned. Unit 21 had taken it. Self-dispatch override. The map redrew. Unit 21 was 3 precincts over, on the wrong side of the river. The dispatcher frowned, tapped a key, opened the notation. The name on the unit, Hayes, D. That override wasn't illegal. Officers sometimes took calls out of sequence if they were closer, or if they knew the building, or if they knew the victim. It would not look strange until someone looked close. Daniel Hayes, 36, was a clean file on paper. Former Marine, 4 commendations, a viral photo of him kneeling to tie an elderly man's shoe during a parade, 3 letters from parents thanking him for finding their runaway kids. His supervisor called him dependable under pressure. His last performance review said excellent 6 times. Internal Affairs had 1 closed complaint about improper traffic stop conduct. The body cam had failed to upload that night. A note in the file blamed a battery error. 9 minutes of missing footage that nobody pushed too hard to find. He liked routine, night shift, black coffee, peppermint gum because it kept him from grinding his teeth. He kept his hair short enough to pass inspection without thinking about it. He did his push-ups in sets of 20 between loads of laundry. He logged more miles than any officer in his district because he took the long way to most calls. He liked the city best when it was asleep. There were things that did not make it to the file. A woman who filed a complaint about a stop at 2:14 a.m. on a road with no streetlights, then withdrew it 2 days later. A neighbor who said he had too many visitors who stayed too long in the hallway when his door was open. A rookie who said, "He makes me nervous," and then changed it to, "He's just intense." Those notes were never written down. The job breeds silence, and silence grows sharp edges in the dark. In Emily's building, the hallway camera looked down over the stairwell. The lens was smudged and 2 degrees off center because the super had bumped it with a ladder last month and promised to fix it when he had the part. It would catch a uniform walking up the stairs, but the face would be a smear. Emily waited by the door because the dispatcher had told her to. Keys in her left hand, between her fingers like a cheap set of claws. The go bag where she could reach it. The window cracked 2 inches because she couldn't decide if she wanted someone to hear her or not. She rehearsed the words she would say to the officer. "I'm okay." "No, I'm not okay. He broke things. I want him to leave. Please don't make a report I can't undo. Please stand between me and the door." The knock came, 3 sharp raps. Her body relaxed before her mind could stop it. Relief is a reflex. She opened the door, already saying, "Thank you for..." And now he was standing in her doorway, badge gleaming under the flickering hall light, pretending to be her savior. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She tried to step back, but he pushed the door wider with one hand and whispered, just low enough so the hallway camera wouldn't catch it, "Did you really think you could run forever?" Her phone slipped from her fingers and crashed to the floor. This was not a rescue. This was the beginning of something far worse. Her mind offered pieces before it offered sense. The peppermint, the way he cracked his knuckles, the weight of his gaze like a hand on the back of her neck. He smiled like people do for cameras. "Ms. Carter? Officer Hayes, you called." He angled his shoulder to the camera and stepped inside, and his hand went to the door with a smoothness that said he had practiced it. Pull, swing, catch the lock with your thumb. The click was gentle. A lifetime fit inside the next breath. She could taste metal. Her mouth said, yes, because her mouth belonged to habit. Her feet moved back because training lives in the bones. He shut the door and looked around the apartment the way cops do, corners, windows, table, floor, absorbing the room as if it belonged to him. He did not take out a notebook. He did not ask where Ty was. He looked at the broken glass on the kitchen tile, and then at her, and then at the phone on the floor with the open line. He picked it up, pressed a button, and spoke to the dispatcher in a voice like quiet water. "Unit 21 on scene. Situation under control." He did not say the code that means you have another officer present. He did not say the code that means send backup. "Do you remember me?" he asked, still smiling, still using his soft voice. It wasn't a test. It was a gift he thought he was giving her, the mercy of shared history spoken out loud. Her throat closed around the truth. She shook her head. Her hands were very steady. "I don't know you, my..." He opened his left hand as if they were negotiating. "I'll make it easy. You left through a window. 3rd night. I told you you'd come back. The room tilted. She had built a decade of distance, and all of it slid like water to the floor. From the street below came a horn, distant and harmless. The world continued, which felt like an insult. In the hallway, footsteps passed, neighbors going about their lives with groceries and mail. Inside the apartment, the air was very thin. There were 3 things Emily remembered with a clarity that overpowered terror. Her therapist's voice telling her to name facts, not fears. The shape of the key fob in the drawer next to the stove. The safety phrase she and her friend Lila had agreed to text each other if they needed help. Green for okay, yellow for stay on the phone, red for call 911. The phone was now in his pocket. The drawer was 3 steps away. Lila was 5 blocks away with a baby asleep on her chest. "Tell me about your boyfriend," Hayes said, as if he were doing his job. "Tell me why you called." "He broke a glass," she said. Her voice surprised her. It sounded normal. "He yelled. He left. Do you want to make a report?" "No." He nodded, like a man deciding whether to order dessert. "Okay." He took 2 steps toward the sink, and the floor creaked, and she used the sound to move too. 1 step sideways, casual, toward the stove. She saw his eyes flick to the motion, cataloging it. A small smile. He liked when she moved. He liked letting her think she could. "Do you want me to wait here with you until he comes back?" he asked. No. The drawer was half open. Her fingers found the rubber edge of the fob. She thought of pressing the panic button and the car in the lot, shrieking, and what that would do to the next 3 minutes. "You don't like surprises?" he said. He was watching her hands. "Me neither." He took a piece of peppermint gum from his pocket and offered it to her like a joke, like an old habit. "For the nerves." She did not take it. He unwrapped one for himself. "You changed your name," he said around the gum. "Clever. You changed your walk. Not as clever. You favor the left when you're scared." "Why are you here?" she asked. It came out flat. "Because you called," he said. "And because you always were good at asking for help." He glanced toward the peephole, the camera beyond, the world that might see. "We should talk somewhere else." "No." Her fingers found the small canister of pepper spray behind the utensil tray. She curled it into her palm and pushed the drawer shut with her hip, quietly. He heard it anyway. He always heard everything. But he didn't move. He let the space breathe. Predators do that. They know the value of patience. Upstairs, someone's TV laughed at a canned joke. In the alley, a bottle rolled. Time stretched. The official story of Daniel Hayes said he lived alone. The unofficial story said he preferred women who lived alone too. Dispatch logs would later show a pattern of self-assigned calls that clustered around certain apartment buildings and certain names. The cluster on Emily would be the smallest, because he had waited for this one. The wait had tasted like peppermint. He took out his radio and spoke 3 words into the mic, low enough that the dispatcher would mark it without question. "Clearing scene soon." Then, to her, still smiling, a man with good teeth and a steady voice. "I'm going to step into the hall and tell them everything's fine. You're going to lock the door behind me. You're going to breathe." He walked backward to the door, turned the lock, opened it an inch, peered out, then shut it again. The click was gentle a second time. "See? Easy. We'll make it simple." He put his hand on the doorknob and left it there, as if it belonged to him now. "It doesn't have to be like last time," he said. Last time was messy. She imagined the hallway camera, smudged and tilted, recording the door that would not open if she ran. She imagined the neighbor on the 2nd floor who left for night shifts at exactly 10. She imagined Ty's return and the shape of that chaos colliding with this one. She imagined Lila's phone, face down next to a sleeping baby, on silent. If she sprayed him, he would close his eyes for the length of a heartbeat. If she ran, he would catch her in the length of 2. Her therapist again, in the room with the soft chair. Take the next safest step you can take. Not the perfect one. The next safest step was small. She nodded, as if agreeing to his plan, and said, "Okay, can I get a glass of water first?" He watched her, measuring. "Of course." She moved to the sink and turned the tap. The pipes banged and groaned like an old man waking. Water hid the tiny sound as she palmed the pepper spray, pulled the pin with her thumb, and clicked the safety off against the edge of the countertop. She put the glass to her lips and did not drink. She let the water run. She waited for the neighbor upstairs to flush, for the elevator to hum, for any sound at all to cover the next decision. He tilted his head. 2 notes of a whistle slid from him without thinking. She knew that whistle like she knew her own name. "What do you want to talk about?" she asked. Keep him talking. Make a shape for the fear. "Where you went," he said. "Who helped you? Who you told? What you remember? What you don't?" "I don't remember your face," she said. He smiled wider. "I know." The water ran and ran. Somewhere far away a siren rose and fell, unrelated and cruel. Later, when investigators would pull the building's camera footage and present it frame by frame, they would argue about this moment. One would say, "She's going for it." Another would say, "She's freezing." The truth was both. There is more bravery in moving while you are terrified than in any clean, cinematic run down a hallway. She chewed the inside of her cheek until she tasted iron. She turned off the tap. She set the glass down carefully. She faced him. "If I go with you," she said, "do I come back?" He did not look offended. He looked pleased, like a teacher hearing a student ask the right question after a long silence. "That depends on how well you remember." She took 1 step toward him with her right foot, while her left hand, low and close, found the angle she needed. She breathed once, deep enough to hurt. And then she moved. The spray hissed before his smile could change. A mist of chemical fire bloomed between them, filling the narrow space with the stinging, choking burn of pepper. His eyes snapped shut. His free hand shot out blind, catching the door frame instead of her arm. He snarled through clenched teeth, a sound that was part rage and part shock. Emily didn't wait to see if it worked. She dropped the canister and bolted for the hallway. The first lock clicked. The second stuck, always stuck, and her hands fumbled as panic screamed that she was wasting seconds she didn't have. Behind her, his cough turned into a laugh, raw and rasping. "That's new," he wheezed. The lock gave finally, and she shoved the door open. She ran. The hallway was dim, the fluorescent bulb at the far end buzzing. She sprinted barefoot, the carpet rough against her feet. She slammed the stairwell door open and clattered down 2 flights, gripping the railing so hard her knuckles split. Halfway to the lobby, she heard it, the heavy, rhythmic thud of boots on the stairs above. He was following. Blind, eyes watering, but following. The sound was worse than a siren. It meant he knew her steps. He had cataloged her fear. She shoved through the lobby door, breath ragged. The security guard's chair was empty, as it always was after 9. The glass front doors reflected her wild eyes back at her. She slammed against the panic bar and stumbled into the night air. The street was almost empty. A woman tugging a dog on a leash. A car idling at the curb, music thumping softly. Neon light from the corner liquor store bleeding red into the sidewalk. She wanted to scream, but her throat locked. She wanted to wave her arms, but her body froze in instinct, making her small when she needed to be loud. The boots pounded closer. The door banged open behind her. She ran left. The liquor store door dinged as she shoved inside. The cashier looked up, startled. Emily's voice came out as a croak. "Call the police, please, now!" The man behind the counter blinked, then reached for the phone. Officer Hayes appeared in the doorway seconds later. His eyes were bloodshot rivers, but his uniform was perfect, his badge gleaming. He raised one hand calmly, the model of authority. "Everything's under control," he said. "I'm Officer Hayes. She's having a panic episode. I'll take her back upstairs." The cashier hesitated, phone in hand. Emily shook her head violently. "No, he's... The words stuck. Kidnapper, predator, monster. The word cop seemed bigger than all of them. Hayes took 1 step forward, his smile back in place despite the tears streaking down his face. He sounded reasonable, almost soothing. "She called us tonight. Domestic disturbance. I'll file the paperwork." "Don't worry, sir." The cashier glanced between them. A woman wild-eyed, trembling, barefoot. A man in uniform, calm, badge shining. Which one would you believe? The dog outside barked. The leash yanked. A man's voice shouted, "What's going on?" Feet shuffled at the door. A witness. Hayes's jaw tightened. For the first time, his calm cracked. He stepped back into the shadows of the doorway, just enough to buy a second. "We'll talk later," he murmured, voice pitched so only she could hear. He tapped his chest where his badge sat. "Remember, they always believe me." And then he was gone, melting back into the night. Emily collapsed against the counter, sobbing, while the cashier dialed 911. What she didn't know, what nobody in that liquor store knew, was that Hayes wasn't finished. He wasn't retreating. He was circling, watching, waiting for a gap. And worse, the dispatcher had already logged the call as cleared, under his name. According to the system, Emily Carter didn't need help anymore. Emily's chest still heaved as the liquor store cashier slid her a paper cup of water, hand shaking. She gulped it down, eyes flicking to the front doors every second. "Help's coming," the cashier said, his voice low, reassuring. But Emily's mind screamed, "No, it's not." Because she had seen the smirk, the way Hayes tapped his badge. That wasn't a warning, it was a promise. The door jingled again. A uniform entered. For a moment, Emily thought she would collapse with relief. Another officer. Backup. She wasn't crazy. "Ma'am," the cop said, tall and broad, his voice steady. "I'm Officer Bennett. You're safe now." Her knees nearly buckled. But then, out of the corner of her eye, she caught it. The subtle nod Hayes gave him from across the street, standing in shadow beside a lamppost. Bennett nodded back. Her stomach turned to ice. They weren't coming to save her. They were working together. Bennett approached slowly, like a lion circling prey. "We'll escort you back home, settle everything down, okay?" His hand rested casually on the grip of his holster. Emily stumbled backward, knocking over a rack of potato chips. "No," she whispered. "No, I'm not going with you." The cashier frowned. "Wait, what?" "She's scared, man. Maybe just wait until—" Bennett's smile never faltered, but his eyes cut cold. "Store policy's not your concern," he said. "We've got this handled." The German shepherd outside barked again, louder this time. The man holding the leash stepped forward, suspicion in his face. "You good, miss?" he called. Emily's voice broke. "No, please, don't let them take me." The words hung in the air like shrapnel. Everyone froze for half a second. Bennett's hand twitched toward his radio. Hayes shifted in the shadows. The cashier's eyes darted from Emily to the cop. The dog growled, and then, blessed chaos. The dog wrenched free, bolting through the open door, lunging at Bennett with a snarl. The officer stumbled, crashing into the rack, trying to keep the animal from sinking teeth into his arm. Chips flew everywhere. The cashier shouted. Emily ran. She shoved through the back hallway of the store into the stockroom. Boxes toppled as she clawed for the emergency exit. The alarm wailed as the metal door banged open into the alley. The night air slapped her face. She sprinted blind between dumpsters and loading docks, the scream of the alarm fading behind her. Her mind raced faster than her feet. Where can I go? Who can I trust? They've marked me in the system. Dispatch thinks I'm safe. No one will come. And then, like a photograph burned into her brain, she remembered something. 2 weeks ago, on a bored evening scrolling through her phone, she'd seen a name trending in her city. Detective Laura Ortiz, the one officer who had blown the whistle on department corruption last year. She'd been suspended, harassed, silenced. But Emily remembered her face, sharp, angry, determined. Emily didn't know her personally, but she remembered the article saying Ortiz lived only 5 miles away. Her only chance wasn't 911, it was her. Behind her, in the alley, Hayes' voice cut through the night like broken glass. "Run, Emily. Run as far as you can. I'll always find you." She didn't look back. She just ran. Emily's lungs burned as she tore through the sleeping neighborhood, bare feet slapping against the pavement. Porch lights blinked on as dogs barked behind fences. Somewhere behind her, she thought she heard the growl of an engine, a cruiser idling slow, like a predator tracking prey. She ducked into side streets, weaving between rows of mailboxes, until she spotted the small bungalow she remembered from the news photo. Paint peeling, porch light flickering. The house of the one person in this city who might believe her. Detective Laura Ortiz. Emily staggered up the steps and pounded on the door. "Please," her voice cracked. "Please, open up. It's Emily Carter. I need your help." At first, silence. Then a shadow moved behind the curtains. The chain slid off, the deadbolt clicked, and the door opened just enough for a woman's face to peer out. Sharp eyes, tired, suspicious. "Do you know what time it is?" Ortiz muttered. Emily nearly collapsed into her arms. "It's Officer Hayes. He was my kidnapper. He's hunting me right now." That snapped Ortiz awake. She yanked Emily inside and slammed the door. For a long moment, Ortiz just stared at her, taking in her shaking hands, bloodied feet, wild eyes. And then the detective whispered, "I knew it. I knew he was dirty." Emily clutched her arm. "He's not alone. Another cop came. They tried to take me." Ortiz's jaw tightened. She grabbed a burner phone from the counter and shoved it into Emily's hands. "Don't use yours. They'll be tracing it." Then, almost to herself, "God help us. I told Internal Affairs years ago. No one listened." Emily's voice trembled. "He said, he'll always find me. What if—" Before she could finish, headlights swept across the front window. A car rolling slow, then another behind it. The low hum of radios. Ortiz's eyes narrowed. "Too late. They already know you're here." Emily froze. "How? I didn't call anyone." Ortiz grabbed her shoulders. "Listen to me. Hayes isn't just a dirty cop. He's protected. You're not dealing with one man. You're dealing with a ring. They run the evidence room, dispatch, even some judges. That's why I was silenced when I tried to expose them." Emily's stomach twisted. A whole system, rotten from the inside. The first knock came, slow and deliberate, rattling the glass in the door. Then a voice, smooth and mocking. "Laura, Emily, open up. Let's have a talk." Hayes. Emily's breath hitched. Ortiz raised a finger to her lips, then pulled Emily toward the back of the house. She slid a panel under the sink, revealing a narrow crawl space. "Get in. Don't argue." Emily crawled inside, heart hammering. Ortiz handed her a small recording device. "Press this when you hear something. Evidence is our only weapon. Understand?" Emily nodded, biting her lips so hard it bled. The panel slid shut just as the front door crashed inward. Heavy boots stomped across the floor. Hayes's voice carried through the walls, too calm, too sure of himself. "You always were a stubborn one, Ortiz. Thought you could play hero. But you should have retired quiet. Now you've got the girl, and that makes you my problem." Emily's hand shook as she pressed the button on the recorder. From her hiding place, she realized, this wasn't just about survival anymore. If she and Ortiz could bring this proof out alive, they could burn the whole rotten empire down. But if they failed, she would vanish, like the others. Her kidnapper was now in her rescuer's living room, and the walls were closing in. The sound of boots thundered against the wooden floorboards. Emily pressed herself deeper into the crawl space, hands trembling so violently she almost dropped the recorder. She heard Ortiz's voice, steady, unshaken, as though she'd rehearsed this confrontation 1,000 times. "You're finished, Hayes. I've got everything I need." A sharp laugh, his. "Do you really think anyone's gonna believe you? The department's mine. Dispatch runs my calls, judges owe me favors, and Internal Affairs has been on my payroll for years. I'm untouchable." Emily's heart pounded, but Ortiz didn't back down. "Not anymore. You just admitted it, and I've got a witness." Hayes's tone shifted, colder, sharper. "Where is she?" The room went silent. Emily felt the air thicken with danger. She realized Hayes didn't know exactly where she was. Not yet. Ortiz stalled, her voice deliberate. "Maybe I already sent her away. Maybe she's recording this right now. You don't control the whole world, Hayes. Someone's going to listen." A crash of glass. Heavy footsteps surged forward. Ortiz's voice rose, gun drawn. "Stop right there!" Then came the muffled scuffle, the unmistakable crack of a gunshot. Emily bit her fist to keep from screaming. The recorder picked up everything. Ortiz's grunt of pain, Hayes's curse. "Damn it! Where is she?" Emily squeezed her eyes shut. Ortiz had bought her seconds, just seconds, and then chaos. Sirens, dozens of them, wailing from all directions. Hayes cursed again. No, 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 this wasn't supposed to. Another voice boomed through a megaphone outside. Officer Hayes, drop your weapon and step outside. Emily's breath hitched. How? Who had called them? Ortiz's voice, ragged but fierce, rang out. You did, Hayes. Every call you thought was erased. I kept the backups. Every victim you buried. I wrote their names, and tonight, I sent it all. A beat of silence. Then the sound of something clattering to the ground. Hayes' gun. Emily heard him mutter, almost broken. You don't know what you've done. Ortiz spat back. No, Hayes. Now everyone knows. The house shook as SWAT stormed in. Boots pounded, orders barked. Hayes dragged away in furious protest. The panel opened. Light flooded Emily's cramped world. Ortiz's face appeared, pale, wounded, but alive. She extended a trembling hand. Come on, kid. It's over. Emily crawled out, tears streaming down her face. She clutched the recorder, realizing it held the proof of everything. Outside, the night sky lit up with red and blue. Reporters swarmed, cameras rolling. And for the first time, Emily wasn't just a victim. She was the voice of every woman Hayes had silenced. Ortiz leaned on her, whispering hoarse, You survived. Now, make them listen. Months later, the trial rocked the nation. Hayes wasn't just charged with kidnapping. He was exposed as the head of a sprawling network of corruption that bled through every corner of the city's justice system. His name became synonymous with betrayal, and Emily, the girl who had once been voiceless, sat on the witness stand, telling her story to millions. When the verdict came, guilty on all counts, the courtroom erupted. Hayes's mask shattered. For the first time, he wasn't the officer in control. He was just another criminal in chains. As cameras flashed, Emily and Ortiz shared a quiet look. They had survived. They had won, but the echo of his words would never leave her. You don't know what you've done. Because even behind bars, men like Hayes had shadows, and Emily knew. The story wasn't over.